Welcome to In Vivo Leadership Podcast. I am your host, Layli Saragiani, and I am joined by Mark Langford, who's a seasoned career coach. Now, I am very fortunate to say he used to be my coach years back and has continued to wow me in his journey as a career coach. So what we're doing is talking about the importance of having a career coach or an executive coach and what it really means for you. And that also includes something pretty important, which is if you're pretty awesome at what you do, why would you need a career coach? So tune in and listen. I think we're going to hit some really great topics that you're going to enjoy.
Mark, it is so good to have you on eVivo Leadership Podcast. First of all, welcome. I would love to learn more about what you do, what we can share with the audience. So tell me about what you do.
Wonderful, Layli. Thanks so much for hosting today. What I do, so I was in corporate for about 3 decades, and I went through 7 different industries, worked on Main Street to Wall Street, internationally. Uh, I was just always searching for where I belonged in my corporate life, and decided 10 years ago to step out and do coaching. So I started coaching young male professionals because I was one, and then women started to show up, and I started helping them and ethnicities and older people, and then international people. Now my coaching has grown from career coaching into executive coaching and entrepreneur coaching as well. So I help people in all walks of life to figure out what their professional side looks like and to have things that they really love, because that's what I looked for 30 years myself.
I always loved your story. And so, spoiler alert for our audience, I have had the pleasure to work with you as my coach. So, it was a great experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to sit with you, because you have such a great story of why you got into this position and what you saw in that world and what you wanted to contribute. So before I jump in there, what brought you into the coaching world?
Well, Layli, sometimes uh, that people are better coaches than they are players. And I don't think I was a great player in the corporate world because I grew up as a only child in a single parent family, so I didn't take orders very well. And then I kind of realized that, and when I did, that kind of changed everything for me. I actually had the benefit or uh, the misfortune of having a near-death experience, and it kind of came into a spiritual realization that I belonged on the outside, not on the inside. So I think I'm a great coach, and that's what I've been told, and way better than I was an employee, just because I didn't fit the corporate mold, but I could see
Mhm.
how it worked and everything else like that. So I'm a much better teacher and healer than I am an employee.
That's amazing. So, if you don't mind me asking, the near-death experience that you had,
Yeah.
what was it? What really revolutionized? Was that all your North Star moments that brought you
It kind of
here?
was, I was 40 days in the hospital and was near checking out, was in the ICU for a little while, and I won't get into the details of that. But basically, I came into contact with something greater than myself. That's all I can say. It was a kind of a collective type feel, and I got to ask this collective who I was, what I was here, what the world meant, and I got answers. And so the funny thing is the answer I got was I was a teacher and a coach and a healer. And then I got out of the hospital, and for the next 10 years, I didn't do anything about it. So it just haunted me. And so I was always curious about what that meant. And so I actually finished writing a book about it, and then made the transition when I got laid off. I guess it was 11 years now. And I was like, you know what? This is a sign. This is time that I need to go out and do my own thing.
There's only a very short amount of time where you can ignore your true calling. And I love that you were like, no, I'm just gonna just keep going for 10 more years and marched on, but finally you answer that call.
Well, during those 10 years, I was doing a lot of soul searching, and I was working with spiritual gurus and doing workshops and reading books and everything else like that. So it wasn't just laying dormant. It was actually, I was actively working on it. And then finally, I guess, per the Atomic Habits book by James Clear, which is a great book, by the way, all the little atomic habits that I changed, finally just hockey sticked. And then I was able to break out and, do my own thing and actually find what I feel is my calling. I wake up every day and I'm happy with what I do. And I love helping people. I get to make my own schedule. And it's a perfect fit for me. So that's what I try and help people do, is figure out their perfect fit.
Can I also install your book as well? What's the name of your book and where can we find
Well,
it?
that book was called Thank God It's Wednesday. It was published back in 2015. My new book is called Career Reboot, How to Find Your Ideal Job in 12 Weeks Using AI. So I've been integrating a lot of AI and so forth. I work with executives and middle management, directors and so forth, not only to find their ideal jobs, but also to get promoted into positions and find roles within the organization that fit them the best.
And I love where we're going with this because honestly, working with coaches and then now being a coach myself, I
Yeah.
think that it's a very important piece of a leader's world. So the first question that I have for you right off the bat is what are the biggest misconceptions leaders have about executive coaching and how do these misconceptions hold them back from growth?
Yeah, so I'll give you five. Misconception number one is the belief that coaching is only for struggling leaders. A long time ago that might have been true, but that's really not the way anymore. Coaching is actually kind of more in vogue these days. So many high achievers see coaching as a last resort rather than a productive strategy for peak performance. Even Fortune 500 CEOs like Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, Eric Spiegel, Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snap, Reed Hastings, co-CEO of Netflix. They all have coaches, and even Oprah Winfrey was rumored to have four coaches simultaneously in the height of her career. So misconception number two is that the thought that I should be able to figure this out on my own. Leaders often believe that seeking guidance signals weakness. And in reality, the best executives know that there is power and synergy that comes from leveraging outside expertise. Athletes and CEOs alike have coaches, and it's not because they lack ability; it's because they want to maximize it, right? And so I would say misconception number three is that coaching is a one size fits all approach. Some leaders
Mm.
assume that coaching follows this generic framework, but a good coach will bring a highly personalized approach to a client's specific challenges and growth areas. And I'd say misconception number four is coaching is just about performance improvement. You've heard about that. Oh, you're going on the performance improvement plan. We're getting your coach. While skill enhancement is part of coaching, it also builds on emotional intelligence, resilience, strategic thinking. For example, a leader preparing for a promotion might work with a coach to develop their executive presence and delegation skills rather than tactical execution. And then misconception number five, I would say, is the lack of immediate ROI. Leaders sometimes hesitate because they want a quick result, but coaching generally focuses on longer term strategies and transformation. For example, coaching helps cultivate leadership style and delivers sustained impact, fosters innovation and also retention of their key employees.
I love that. And so that takes me into my next question for you, because as leaders, as far as we go with those misconceptions, we hit all different types of high pressure situations. So, how does having a coach help
Yeah.
me as a leader navigate through those situations? And
Yeah.
it could be like promotions, right? Org changes, team dynamics, all the
Yeah.
above.
Yeah, I'd say that a coach can provide perspective and clarity in decision making. A coach acts as a sounding board and helps leaders to weigh their options objectively and to make informed decisions. For example, a coach and a leader can role play different scenarios so he or she is prepared for any potential outcome. Coaching can also help customize strategies for leadership challenges. A coach can help a leader tailor a strategy to a specific challenge, whether it's managing a merger, restructuring a team, or leading a new division. For example, a newly promoted VP can learn to navigate the politics of the executive team and establish credibility, which we talk about more in a little while, how to establish credibility, but to basically come in and get the respect and trust from other people quickly. Coach can also teach emotional regulation and resilience under stress. Through coaching, leaders gain tools to manage stress and stay composed and to lead with confidence. An example here is a senior executive facing a company crisis. They can work with a coach to maintain their composure and to communicate effectively with a variety of stakeholders. And then furthermore, coaching can strengthen communication and influence. It helps leaders refine their messaging to build trust with teams and peers and stakeholders. For example, a director struggling with a cross-functional collaboration issue can refine their communication style to gain buy-in from different departments. And a coach can also develop decision-making frameworks for complex problems. For example, here, you might be navigating a layoff, which is happening a lot in this economy, and understand how to balance transparency with empathy and the business need through some guided coaching conversations. And a coach can also help a leader to let go of their day-to-day task-based management style. For example, if a person was previously a hands-on manager overseeing the tactical decisions and ensuring team productivity, a coach can help them transition to a stronger leader by delegating more effectively or empowering their direct reports or focusing more on the high-level direction. And then finally, I think a coach can help you shift from a problem solving focus into developing more vision and value for their organization. For example, operational managers generally excel at fixing immediate issues, but a strategic leader anticipates and plans for future trends. Leaders have to develop foresight, recognize industry shifts, craft compelling vision for the company, and a coach can help them implement and accelerate all of this transition.
Everything you're saying is just hitting all the right spots in our conversation. And I know you have experience, as you mentioned, with AI and how that's you're developing that into your role. So the way that I think about what we're talking about is you have to be very proactive in today's world because of the technology, the changes that are coming. But I sometimes work with leaders, and you can tell me what your thoughts are, where they're so successful and immediately go, I'm good where I am. I don't really need any additional help. For those who are, let's call them transformational, because we have those, right? What are the additional values that these types of executives would get from coaching in their development?
Yeah, great question. So I think a coach can help uncover blind spots and self-limiting behaviors, and we all have them. I've been coaching for almost 11 years now, and I still find limiting beliefs in my in my approach and everything else. And it's amazing because I do this work on a daily basis with people, and I'm saying, oh, that's my limiting belief, right? So I think even top leaders have growth areas that they can't see, and coaches can provide objective insights to refine their leadership approach. For example, a seasoned executive may realize through coaching that their perfectionist tendencies are stalling the whole team's anatomy and growth. And it's funny lately because no executive I've ever coached has ever said, "Oh, I'm a micromanager," but I've worked with a lot of micromanagers, and they don't even know it, right? So a coach can help a leader to become more mindful and self-aware, and actually empower their employees rather than hold them back. A coach can also help someone transitioning again from something more operation to more strategic. If the roles are changed, so it can help them evolve from focusing on daily execution into long-term vision and innovation. For example, a successful departmental head can learn how to shift from managing tasks to setting a company-wide strategic direction, right? And coaching can help expand leadership influence and executive presence. Executive coaches help leaders to cultivate gravitas, persuasion, and credibility at all levels of an organization, from the mailroom to the boardroom. And a coach can help avoid complacency and ensure that they have continued personal growth. Even high achievers risk stagnation, and coaches ensure that they continue to evolve and grow both professionally and personally. And finally, I say a coach can help enhance, just team leadership and succession planning. So great leaders don't just lead; they create other leaders, and they empower other people to be their best selves and to, progress with and accelerate within the organization as well. So developing talent is key to, sustainable organizational success, and a coach can help even an existing high achieving leader to become better themselves.
I love that. Getting into that a little bit more, when I started looking for coaches, and now this is you'll know how I started selecting you maybe a little bit, but I was struggling when I started to look for coaches because I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know what was, so let's just call it what it is, the right fit for me. in your opinion, what should leaders look for when they're choosing an executive coach to make sure that they're getting the right fit for their needs and goals?
Yeah, that is so key because the wrong coach with the wrong client just doesn't work out well. It leaves, a bad taste in the client's mouth, and then they don't think well of coaching, and the coach doesn't feel good about it. So, a coach and a client should make sure that the match is there. It's not just a one-way street. So, from a client perspective, a potential leader who is going to get a coach, I would say, make sure the coach understands the dynamics of the executive role that they're in, and the challenges that come with them. For example, a tech startup CEO might benefit from a coach with experience in scaling businesses, while a corporate VP may need somebody with Fortune 500 experience, right? Second, I would look for alignment with the leadership style and values. The coach's philosophy should resonate with the leader's approach to leadership. For example, a leader who values innovation might work with a coach who embraces agile and forward-thinking strategies. Third, I would check for the coach's willingness to be challenging and to push for growth. The best coaches provide constructive feedback and not just encouragement. For example, a high-performing executive might need a coach who asks really tough questions and holds them accountable for continuous improvement. Fourth, I would seek out a coach with a balance of both business acumen and emotional intelligence. Coaches should understand both the business strategy and the leadership psychology. Again, example here is a coach should help a leader through might help a client through corporate restructuring, and blend both strategic guidance with emotional support. Fifth, I would say make sure the coach has a structured approach and can provide measurable results. Coach should offer clear frameworks, progress tracking, feedback loops, and a leader working on improving team engagement might track key performance indicators such as employee retention or feedback score. So there has to be some way to actually measure what you're getting. And then finally, I would say there has to be chemistry and trust, in a coaching relationship. A good coach leadership relationship is built on open communication and trust. And so the leader has to feel comfortable sharing vulnerable things, and the challenges that they're facing without fear of judgment. And this can be gauged through actively working together, maybe in a probationary time period, so you could see what it's like. So maybe you don't sign up for a year or half year of coaching, just do a few sessions and you'll see how that works out. And then you can give the coach feedback, say this is what I need, and if they can't adjust to that, then might not be the right coach.
Mm-hmm. And if I am walking into, your Zoom call or your in-person meeting, what are some ways that I can be successful during our time together?
In the meeting itself.
Mhm. Or
um,
if not the meeting itself too, Mark,
yeah,
any ways that I can show up for myself that I can get the most efficient of what I'm doing as
yeah, I would say,
in the coaching.
yeah, the best thing you can be is just be totally vulnerable, and again, as long as the
Hmm.
coach creates that safe environment, because if you might be holding back on stuff, that is truly the root cause of things that are creating the problem. But if you're not vulnerable and exposing that to the coach, then it can't be solved, right? I'm in a men's group, for example, and we do work where, people cry and scream and pound the floor, and we get vulnerable. And through that vulnerability, we can release some of the stuff that's been holding us back, and we can get some really authentic, great feedback. So I'd say, first and foremost, be vulnerable. Second, be open to exploring alternatives. I have clients who are absolutely open and we find different paths for them forward, but others that are like, no, no, this is the way it has to be done. And their mindset is so um, made up. So their mind is so made up and their mindset is so rigid that really it's difficult to change, right? And third is like probe the coach. They have a lot of experience and knowledge. So like ask questions, don't just sit there and be like this student. It's like it's a two-way street, like I said before. So get into dialogues and go deeper, ask why they're saying that and what else could be done there and what resources the coaches have. So to leverage the most of the talent and ability that they bring to the table.
The most common theme I have when I do podcasts, Mark, is the constant self-awareness theme that is needed in the leadership role.
Yeah.
When you're coaching, is that one of the themes that you're finding? Are there any other themes that you're catching on that helps us be better?
Themes in terms of what? Give me a little more about what you're asking. Sorry.
Characteristics. So
Mhm.
self-awareness, like you
Yep.
said, come in vulnerably, and I think some of that has to do with understanding who you are and where you are.
Yes.
Um, Again, it goes back to the EQ piece that you
Yeah.
were mentioning,
Yeah.
which I don't necessarily think that that's like a requirement for you to get coaches in case,
Yeah.
there's a reason why when you go up the ladder of leadership, your EQ falls down.
Yeah.
It feels like you need a coach more than ever before when you
True.
keep moving up the ladder. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just more expectations of you. You're much more visible as you go up the ladder, so it can be very nerve-wracking. So bringing again that vulnerability really helps, and openness to change and to explore different things that you might not have thought of before. Because there's always synergy when you.
Mhm.
For example, I write a lot, so when I write stuff, I say, "Oh my God, that's as good as it's gonna get," and I have somebody read it and it becomes even better. It's like, especially a good editor, and a coach is like a good editor. And so they come back and say, well, you should do this and this. I'm like, oh my God, that's so much better. Right. And so being open to change and to evaluate different opportunities and then have a coach actually get you deeper into who you are. It's not just you figuring out that yourself, but they can actually ask some really good questions to get deeper into the reflection of where that started, why that happens, what your triggers are, and then come up with better responses to managing things that have been holding you back.
This is so great. So here's my last question for you. How can leaders leverage executive coaching, not just for their own career advancement, but also to create a greater impact with the organization?
Yeah, yeah, great question. So I'd say there are many ways. First, by developing a coaching mindset within the organization. So leaders who receive coaching can adopt these techniques to empower and develop their teams and other managers and their colleagues. For example, a manager who learns active listening and open-ended questioning can use these skills to improve team problem solving and innovation and teach other people how to do that. Second, by building a leadership culture that values development. Coaching should be used to foster continuous learning and leadership development at all levels. For example, here, an executive can introduce internal coaching problems to nurture high performance employees for attention and talent development. Third, by enhancing team performance and collaboration. Leaders who are coached become better at driving team engagement performance. For example, a senior leader may use the insights from coaching to resolve team conflicts and improve workplace culture. Fourth, by driving organizational change with greater confidence. Coaching equips leaders with the mindset and tools to navigate and lead transformation effectively. So here, for example, a VP leading digital transformation may use coaching to manage resistance and align stakeholders. And fifth, by leaving a legacy or a long-term impact. So coaching can help shape the future of organizations beyond their tenure. So, for example, a retiring CEO might work with a coach to refine their succession plan and to ensure both smooth transition and sustainability of what they've built.
Wow, amazing. As always, you have so much. So, what have always loved about you, Mark, is you have this amazing systematic mind where you walk me through steps. Everything is very tangible, very clear. And I love that even after all these years, you still have that amazing strength in yours. So, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me about the importance of executive coaching. Is there anything else you would tell our audience about coaching?
I'd sum it up by saying coaching is not just a tool for struggling leaders. It's truly a strategic investment for top performance. It provides perspective, accountability, growth strategies that the leaders don't always or can't always access on their own. It's great for leaders who want to invest not only to advance their own careers, but also to create a lasting impact within their organizations. And, specifically, you can set strategic priorities and clarify long-term objectives, align departmental efforts and organizational goals. You can enhance delegation, build trust, empower your teams to be more productive, to strengthen executive communication, refine boardroom presence, build your storytelling abilities, and influence and lead at higher levels. And finally, to encourage innovation and get the organization more future ready and to create adaptive strategies to keep the organization really competitive.
I love that. And for me, coaching has always been, uh, man, it's kind of like I can't ask some of those questions on my own because I may not know the right questions to ask myself.
Right.
It becomes more of a surface answer. And then I jump on a call with a coach and they ask these valuable questions that gets to the root of the issue or the situation that I'm in. And I think that's what's been so valuable for me doing the coaching and being coached.
Yeah.
You get into the root of what's going on, and I think quicker than you would on your own.
It's absolutely an accelerator. I drink the Kool-Aid. I have two coaches myself. And, over the years, I've had them for a dozen years now, and I don't use them as often as I used to. But I still go back there once in a while. I was like, I'm kind of stuck and I don't know why. And going back there and ask and having them ask and probe the questions like, oh yeah, and you see things from different perspectives. Again, there's a synergy when there's more than one mind in the room. So I absolutely agree with you.
I love that. Well, I loved everything we just talked about. Mark, where can we find you in social media, LinkedIn, whatever, however we can find you? Tell us where we can go.
Well, LinkedIn, you just look for me, Mark Langford. I like a big presence there. And if you just want to go to my website, it's www.c-synergy.com. It's synergy.com. And then there's all sorts of coaching that I do there. So like I said, I do the career coaching, executive coaching, entrepreneur coaching, and there's different pages for that. And then hopefully you can also find, well, you definitely can find me on udemy.com. If you just type in career, if you go to that online coaching platform, you'll see my course is the #1 course on that out of like 5,000. There's like 7,000 people taking it. So you check that out if you're looking to change positions. But again, if you're looking for executive coaching like we're talking about today, then I would go to my website, go c-synergy.com.
Great. I still have our notes. So thank you so much. They're still sitting in my laptop and I look at them to reflect more and create some future visionary pieces in there. As always, thank you so much, Mark. And hopefully we'll have you back and we can talk some more.
Thanks. And congratulations on your progression and growth. I'm impressed from where you came from to where you are now. So I'm really, I respect and appreciate all of that.
Thank you. It's because of the coaching. I'll put that in there. Appreciate you so much, Mark.
Regularly. Yeah.